For the only team in senior English football without a league win, a daunting prospect at the ground of the only club with a perfect home record. At least Derby's visit coincides with the absence of David Seaman, who turned his ankle in training yesterday, and Tony Adams, who's got a badly bruised thigh. Grimaudy covers in central defence, and with 3 strikers named, there's a withdrawn role for Dennis Bergkamp and a start for Sylvain Wiltord. Derby's Seth Johnson has been named in a youthful England squad for the game in Italy, the first player from the club to be called up since Mark Wright some 10 years ago. He takes his place in a team showing one change. Stefan Schnur is joining the German club Wolfsburg. Scottish international Brian O'Neill will arrive in exchange, but today Danny Higginbotham gets a run out. Taribo West has yet to receive a work permit, but Lilian Martin, newly signed from Marseille, is up against familiar foes. Both Grimaudy and Thierry Henry were teammates in the Monaco side that won the French league. Steve Lodge gets proceedings underway at the end of what's been a difficult week for Arsenal. A daunting trip to the Ukraine, followed by the funeral on Thursday of reserve team coach George Armstrong, who died suddenly last week. Every player and every member of staff attended the service in Cambridge. And many of them, like Arsenal's kitman Vic Akers, were close personal friends. And much of today's matchday programme here at Highbury has been set aside as a tribute to George. Bergkamp. Wiltord. Encouraged to come inside. And therefore encouraged to shoot as well. Early stinging of Mark Porn's fingertips. Martin Keown is up for this. Word in the ear of Vieira. Grimaudy also forward. And Vieira. Bergkamp. That's Porn's ball. Mistake. Would have let in Bergkamp, but the offside flag was up. It was Danny Higginbotham that was caught out. Wiltord that played it through. And Bergkamp, who when it was played through, was adjudged offside, which he clearly was. Not by much, but he was. To Wiltord. Bergkamp operating from deep today and picking out Thierry Henry, thwarted by Mark Porn's dive. But as the ball arrived with the Frenchman from a wonderfully perceptive chipped pass by Bergkamp, it seemed that Arsenal were in. Foul by Keown. Reportedly very upset at being left out by England. Burley and Kinkladze over it. Carbonari to strike. And thus far in his stay in English football, he's not really lived up to his reputation of having just about the fiercest shot in Argentina. Here's Christie chasing. There ahead of Lukic. Derby need to get it back in the centre quickly. There's Dulac. And it was a wonderful stop on the line by Martin Keown. All of one end of the stadium stood up as one to applaud Martin Keown for keeping out Dulac's header. Passing movement by Derby, but ultimately it may come to nothing, although Burley is trying to make sure it doesn't. Silvinho was rather rash in the challenge, and that looked like obstruction. Indirect free kick given against Silvinho. Seemed easier to score than to actually hit the bar. That's the second time that Rory Delap has gone perilously close to putting Derby County in front. It was not a typical piece of Arsenal defending. Vieira stretched and couldn't get there, and Delap from what, 7 yards? Easy to be overcritical, but no foul. Ljungberg. No great opposition to him. Maybe he was too selfish. Silvinho. Higginbotham in the way. Vieira. Parlour. Not too much of it to Seth Johnson. This is Christie. With plenty to do and not too much by way of support. Powell. Christie. And Powell away from Luzhny. And then the enormity of the moment seemed to affect the Derby captain. His winning goal against Leicester last season was his first for 3 years. So he doesn't get much practice when in on goal. That's 3 good chances that Derby have now spurned. Luzhny's header finding Christie. Now Kinkladze. The man over for Derby is Martin, who's been bought for his propensity for getting forward. There's Daryl Powell! Oh, it's a long time since I can remember seeing a struggling visiting team come to Highbury and create so many good chances. At a conservative estimate, that's 4 now gone begging for Derby County. Ljungberg. Burley. Half time. Arriving with Malcolm Christie down injured on the ground. And a series of arguments involving Arsenal players and the referee Stephen Lodge. They're clearly unhappy with something that happened off the ball. And there are boos as the players make their way off the pitch. The better chances in this half have fallen to Derby County, most notably to Rory Delap, who struck the bar and had a header cleared off the line. But at the midway point of a game that hasn't yet been wildly entertaining, it's Arsenal 0, Derby 0. Arsenal this week unveiled plans for their proposed new ground less than half a mile from here at Ashburton Grove. They've thought in the past about a site at King's Cross and about buying Wembley. But this industrial area, at the moment used for waste disposal, is the club's favoured choice. The stadium's going to hold 60,000 people. It's been designed by the same company that came up with Stadium Australia. And if all the planning obstacles can be overcome, they'll be in their new home in round about 4 years' time. Whilst the Art Deco temple that is Highbury is going to be converted into Des Res apartments for the discerning gunner. Arsenal needs some strength and assistance from somewhere. It may lie in the fact that they seem to be very much a second-half team. They scored twice as many goals in the second half of matches in the Premiership this season as in the first. This is Ljungberg trying to make early inroads. Riggott with the clearance. For Derby, though, there will be the contemplation of those missed opportunities. Luzhny. Bergkamp. Johnson caught in a standing position. Luzhny's cross. Form with the touch. Here's Wiltor. For the loft rather than for power. And Form, who was a central figure in the first half, is likely to prove to be the same in the second. Bergkamp. Parler. And now Christie, who's got more pace than Grimandi. Does he have the calmness as well? So many chances missed in the first half. And sadly for Derby, the trend is continuing. It was Martin Keown at fault for 2 goals in midweek in Donetsk that was culpable there. And Malcolm Christie presented with a very good opportunity. Luzhny. Higginbotham. I think that's it. And legs of Vieira won that back for Arsenal. Wiltor. Tantalising Johnson. And Mark Form reached upwards. And I must say my impression was that he touched that behind. But the referee has turned his back on play and given a goal kick. There may just have been some fingertips from Mark Form. But the decision is goal kick. Wiltor had actually charged off to the flag, ready to take the corner. Maybe he's just a born optimist. Maybe he was trying to make the referee's mind up for him. Martin. Kinkladze. Burley. No question that Martin does give Derby good natural width on this right side. Cross took a deflection. Keown hurled himself in there ahead of Powell. Wiltor. This time Henry is onside. And surely he's got to take one of these chances sooner or later. He missed a hatful at Middlesbrough last week, and you can see from his expression that the agony of being off target is as vivid as ever. It's a really well-timed pass from Wiltor. And for most of his stay at Arsenal, Henry has been putting those away. Vieira. Henry across the face of the defender. Kanu. Valakari seemed to bounce off Kanu. And now Morris trying to get away from Keown. And Lee Morris has been pulled up for a foul. Oh, and Morris has shown dissent. And referee Lodge is going for his pocket. Well, at first sight it seemed that Lee Morris might have a case, but the official's view was that he wrestled Martin Keown out of the way illegally. Keown, in fact, if anything, was leaning into Morris. There didn't seem to be a foul there. Derby unfortunate. Vieira. Bergkamp. It's within range with the curler. How many times have we seen him succeed from there? The lazy lift back of the right foot and then the dip and the swerve, and a really good stop from Mark Form to deny him. Silvinho. Reasonable distance on the punch from the Estonian goalkeeper this time. Kanu. Silvinho. Bergkamp and Henry. What a good tackle by Seth Johnson. No wonder he's being congratulated, because it was and had to be perfectly timed. Henry had drawn his foot back and was ready to pounce. In by Silvinho. Wiltor. Derby appealing it had gone out of play, but it hadn't. This is Bergkamp. Kicked away by Delap. Morris pushed by Dixon. Not pleased with the decision of the referee, Lee Dixon. Johnson. Oh, and Delap. 2 chances in the first half, and he's muffed another. An unwanted hat-trick of misses by the makeshift centre-forward, who had an eternity to weigh up what he was going to do. Lukic in no man's land, and he missed by a country mile. Kanu. Parla. And Henry. And Riggott unable to actually claim the ball, and then there's an appeal that Vaughan was guilty of pushing over Wiltor. It was Riggott who found himself in some difficulty for just about the first time this afternoon. There was some shirt pulling going on, and in fact it was Riggott whose challenge led to Wiltor hitting the deck. Higginbotham. Steve Lodge looks at his watch, puts the whistle to his mouth, and although it was far from a great spectacle, it's well played, Derby County. It may not be the elusive win that they're so desperate to record, but it's a valuable and impressive away point, and had it not been for the hat-trick of misses, primarily by Rory Delap, Derby would have been celebrating their first victory at this ground for 12 seasons. Full-time at Highbury, Arsenal 0, Derby 0.
They should have won the game because they missed easy chances, but I think as well that in the last 20 minutes we lacked a little bit vision and a little bit quick passing in the box.
Poor old Rory Delap, in fact, missed a hat-trick of pretty presentable chances.
Well, I wasn't going to mention him, but...
Yes, you were.
You did it for me, John, but yes, he did. I mean, the first, the header, I thought was a good chance, and then obviously the other one was an open goal, and he's leaned back. What shall we say, a full-back playing centre-forward.
Which of the misses will live with you for longest?
I think if you watch a match, you'll know yourself.
The one where you hit the bar?
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, it was a bad miss. It took me out of it, and you know, I thought it was offside, but I should have put it away.
It's been a difficult week in many senses, what with the trip to Donetsk and George Armstrong's funeral on Thursday that all the players attended as well. Was that definitely on your own mind a factor today?
Well, we don't really want to make any excuses, but they were the facts. You know that they weren't in the Ukraine half the week. We were, and it showed. So it's a long old flight, a lot of travelling. You know, it took us the best part of 6 hours to get back from there, 4.5 hours on the plane. So, you know, it was tough, but we should still have enough to win these matches.
Yeah, disappointment for Arsenal, but a great effort from Derby there.
I thought they were excellent today, and obviously it looks as though they solved the problem in terms of conceding goals. The last couple of league games, 2 clean sheets. Whether it's coincidental that Colin Todd has arrived to help out Jim Smith, you know, primarily I would have thought with that department, I don't know. But if you get that sorted, then you've got, you know, a platform, a base on which to build. And I just thought the way that they were all extremely committed today. We've even seen Kincladze making tackles, and everybody was playing. Everybody was playing for each other. And you know, to be quite honest with you, the chances they made in the first half, they should and could have won the game quite easily.
Yeah, in a way, though. I mean, even though they'd have settled for a draw before they got there, I mean, they'd be kicking themselves on the way home.
Well, definitely. I mean, they've got a slight problem. They only really play kind of Christie up front, and Rory Delap who missed what 3 golden opportunities, even as Jim Smith said. I think, you know, he's a defender playing up front, and you know, when the chances...
I thought you defenders thought it was easy.
Yeah. Well, you know what happens? It's a classic case that you don't think like a centre forward when you're in there, which is obviously why you play at the back. But I mean, the chances that fell to him were extremely, you know, well, for anybody, and even if he's defender, he should have obviously taken them better. But this is the first one. This is Christie who gets on the end of this. Don't know where Lukic is going. Does very, very well. Just returns it, bit of interest, very, very early. And you have to say, it's a decent header, certainly, by Delap, but it's good defending in that occasion. There was no great pace on the cross, so, you know, that was the first chance. And this from the free kick. And one thing you say about Arsenal, didn't defend particularly well. It's a poor touch back in Clancy, definitely onside, and I think, as he said, he never really got himself over it. And this, I think, this probably, Gary, sums up a team who don't look like they're going to score at the moment. This is Powell, a lovely little ball, return ball, and I mean, what's he doing? He can take it on. He's got 3 against 1. He can have a shot. He can do all sorts, and yet, you know, bearing all that in mind, this was arguably an easy chance for Henry, and you know, we're saying about Derby lacking a bit of confidence in front of goal. It looks a bit like Henry, and certainly with him last week at Middlesbrough, that he just lacks a bit of confidence in front of goal. And I just feel with Arsenal sometimes that they don't score scruffy goals. They don't. I mean, you know, you used to score them, you know, off your backside from 6 yards. They don't score goals. Yeah, they probably will. Yeah, but they don't score goals like that, because I never quite think the only accusation you could throw at them is that I don't think maybe they get enough people in the box at times.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Steve Lee and Sue Thurl with the blueprint there. Manchester United have finally opened up a lead built on more than goal difference. Arsenal suffer from losing their 100% home record. Leicester are clinging on to 3rd place, and Aston Villa, with a game in hand, have moved up to 4th. They've lost only 1 match in their last 8. Liverpool can go 3rd by taking all 3 points from Coventry tomorrow. Ipswich are back in 6th, and Leeds, with 2 games in hand, could join them on 21 points at Chelsea tomorrow. A new man in charge, but no change in fortune for Bradford. They start a new era at the bottom of the Premiership after Derby picked up a point at Arsenal. Jim Smith's side move off the bottom for the first time since September. Middlesbrough stuck in the bottom 3, Coventry play tomorrow, and Manchester City fall 3 places after losing to West Ham. They'd conceded 13 goals on their travels to the capital this season. Southampton slip a place despite picking up a point, as the Hammers and Everton both won to move to mid-table.
Everton hadn't won at home since August. They hadn't beaten Arsenal at Goodison in the Premiership at all, and they had 11 players out injured, and yet they won comfortably enough in the end. Arsenal had 8 top players missing themselves, and they haven't scored an open play now for 3 Premiership games. Freddie Ljungberg almost ending that famine, but his shot deflected onto the bar, and then Naismith blocked Perez's follow-up. Everton almost scored in the 49th minute. Mark Pembridge was at the hub of a move that saw Kevin Campbell lobbing the ball over Manninger's goal. Then 5 minutes later, they did score. Naismith's cross going over Campbell and Luzhny, and Danny Cadamartri beat Ashley Cole to mark his first full game of the season with a goal. And he was involved in the second as well, emerging from a ruck of players with the ball to set up Kevin Campbell for his first goal against his former club. There's now daylight between Arsenal and Manchester United.
5 points clear for Manchester United is a lot of points, isn't it?
It's too many. It's too many, but you can only keep up there with them if you have outstanding performances, and we must recognize that today our performance was not outstanding.
Mark Pougatch and Ian Payne talking us through the action. While those below them falter, Manchester United keep on winning. Today's victory in the Manchester Derby was their 6th in a row, and the champions are now 5 points clear. Arsenal lose ground after suffering their first defeat since the opening day of the season. Peter Taylor's Leicester City climbed to 3rd following their biggest win of the season at Middlesbrough, but Liverpool will overtake them if they win at Tottenham tomorrow. Aston Villa stay 5th after seeing their recent good run ended at Southampton. Ipswich travel to Coventry tomorrow, and Charlton's win over Chelsea lifts them a couple of places to 7th. Derby's first win of the season, achieved at the 14th time of asking, puts them 3 points clear of the side they beat, Bradford. Middlesbrough have failed to pick up a point since September and remain in the bottom 3. Coventry play Ipswich at Highfield Road tomorrow, and Chelsea remain in the bottom half in 13th place. And they conceded, Alan, a rather bizarre goal at Charlton.
Midwinter's evening in Moscow were only given further credence. Their nimble-footed start gave no hint of the capitulation which followed. as Silvinho skated through with less than 2 minutes on the clock. But at the venue where Cohen Ovet provided such sporting theatre 20 years ago, Arsenal had kicked too soon. If the defending was uncharacteristic, Marçal's finish was typically Brazilian. After half-time, Arsenal heads dropped quicker than the temperature. Marçal's compatriot Robson helped him to dab home his second, before Adams and Keown provided some knockabout comedy as the warm-up for Titov's decisive third. Even Arsene Wenger betrayed his feelings as Robson capitalised on Maninga's jittery hesitation to underline Spartak's dominance. As he headed off for a sub-zero samba, Arsenal knew their retreat from Moscow would be a cold and miserable one. Nigel Adderley, BBC News.
Show. This is what you get for £18 million, the promise of a bright tomorrow. Better perhaps to dwell on that than the task of catching the leaders. And if that was uppermost in Arsenal minds, Olivier Dacour's free kick made a difficult proposition a little more daunting. A deflection helped Dacour, but not Arsenal, still 8 points behind Man United.
1 point from the last 9 for Arsenal, have a home game against Southampton today. And going down the fixtures, Highbury, Villa Park, Valley Parade, Portman Road, Filbert Street, Anfield, Old Trafford and Upton Park will be open for business. And today's 8 games followed by matches at Stamford Bridge tomorrow and the Stadium of Light on Monday.
Sleepless nights. I believe in my team, so I don't have sleepless nights. I'm worried because, of course, I want to win every game, and like the players are worried. To dream of a title would be crazy at the moment. Just try to win the next game, and from there we'll see how well we can do in the league.
Outstanding October was soon forgotten. November brought 1 win in 7. In the first week, with several players rested, Arsenal departed the Worthington Cup and lost heavily at Shakhtar Donetsk. Their stride was broken.
I felt that some players needed a breather, and if you have a big squad as well, you must do that at the moments of the season where you think you have to do it. But I think that's not the key of a problem. The key of a problem is that we have to get our belief back and our aggression back, and to go into the next game by trying to turn things right.
That means scoring. Silvinho's stunner in Moscow, Arsenal's only goal from open play in 6 starts, in a shock 4-1 defeat.
Surprised because for one I think we didn't deserve, but this is Champions League. Every game is very difficult. It depends if you play at home or you play away. You must improve our game and keep going.
If you had told me before the season that we would stay 4 or 5 games with the quality of strikers we have without scoring, I would have laughed because I wouldn't believe you. But at the moment you have to accept that we don't score, and it's not only down to the strikers but to the whole team.
In the meantime, Manchester United have been flawless, increasing Arsenal's anxiety. Tempers that have been prone to flare at the best of times are really tested now.
When you don't win games, you become a little more frustrated and sometimes aggressive at the wrong moment of the game. And when you win, you get less yellow cards. When you lose, you get more yellow cards. And that's why I think at Moscow or at Leeds we got more yellow cards, even if I personally believe that some were too harsh.
Are the players happy?
Of course not. As I said, we didn't have a good month. It's not good, especially in the Premiership, but what can I say? It's difficult for everybody.
Bayern Munich next week in the Champions League. Do you see that now as a must-win match?
It is. I don't like the term must-win game. I think it is a game who will have psychological and mathematical huge importance on the rest of the Champions League group. We will not be out if we don't do well, but like you say, if we want to have a chance to go through, that's a game where we must get something out of it.
Well, everything can turn around now for them. They've got a lot of games at home, Barry, but it was a very black month for them, and big players kind of went missing in their performances, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the goals dried up, didn't they? And it all started on a freezing night, and Shakhtar Donetsk, the players looked really cold, and they played as if they were cold, and then they've had bad result after that, after result, bad result. I think 5 defeats in 7 games, unheard of for Arsenal under Arsene Wenger. They really need to start scoring goals. Thierry Henry's dried up. Kanu hasn't scored in the league. Where is I'd like to know. Dennis Bergkamp, is he going to start the season, start playing football and scoring goals for Arsenal? The midfield, I'm not so sure being protecting the back four the way it used to when Petit was there. Silvinho's had an outstanding season, second top goal scorer, the left back with 4. But if the forwards aren't scoring goals, and interestingly, none of the forwards or nobody in the Arsenal team has actually scored a headed goal. You know, so it tells you what their style of play, and if the passing's not right, then they're not going to create chances and rely far too heavily on Thierry Henry for me.
I think what you say about Dennis Bergkamp as well, I mean, if you remember, it only seems a year, 18 months ago, he was the very focus of that team. Everything went through him. Now, all of a sudden, he's not even assured, you know, of a place in the side.
We've always said about Dennis, haven't we? He needs to be totally on his game,
I think apparently he's one of these guys that has to be 100% right, or else, you know, he's not going to get himself out there and play. I'll tell you what, he needs to right now for him, because they're in a bit of a hole and they could do with some inspiration from somewhere, and he might be just the guy to give it to them.
Well, Andy, I think the country needs him too, because of that gap that's now opened up at the top. We really want this to be a bit more competitive, don't we? 8 points difference between them and Manchester United.
And I can't see Manchester United, you know, coming unstuck against Tottenham at home today. You know, as you say, if they don't get the right result against Southampton today, then they've really got a lot of catching up to do.
3 home games they've got. They've got Bayern Munich, then Newcastle next week. They need to win those 3 games.
Ipswich, are they likely challengers? I mean, they're there in 3rd place at the moment.
No. I mean, it's brilliant that they're up there, but they've got the same amount of points now after 15 games of the sum total they had when they got relegated. They had 27 points and got relegated with that.
And George Burley, manager of the month as well.
Yeah, quite rightly so.